Welcome everyone in attendance and at home, and just like to say that I'll now open up the meeting for June the 5th, 2017, and I would just say that we have one absentee, and that's Councillor Gorkman, who is coming along quite nicely from his operation, but it'll be a while before he gets back with us on a regular basis, on any kind of a basis. So I'll ask if there's any conflicts of interest amongst the council members. No? No, Councillor Vokes has some. Okay. No? No. Okay. No. Okay. If you do find yourself in conflict, just let us know after, okay? Councillor Bondi.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. When the time is right, I have a notice of motion for the June 19th meeting as well that I'd like to put forward tonight. Also asking that if we can possibly bring up the bylaw 18.3.2 or bylaw 1615 to right after the discussion, right after the verbal report. This way the Fourniers can know what's going on, and because the two are united. Just wondering if we can move up the bylaw 1615 to right after the reports from administration.
That's a recommendation, support?
It's a request.
Request. Councillor Caxero, any questions? All in favor?
Sorry, Your Worship, this is adoption of published agenda?
No, it isn't.
Okay.
She wants just something added to it.
Okay.
Just a little too soon?
Yeah.
Okay. That's what I was thinking, but.
Yeah. So we just need a motion on that, Your Worship.
Okay, we have the motion supported by Councillor Caxero and was supported. All in favor, I think. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, now you.
Okay, yeah, I'm good now. Adoption of minutes, that the minutes of the regular council meeting held May 15, 2017 be adopted as circulated.
This is for tonight, though. We haven't done tonight yet.
We just did the adoption of published agenda.
No, she just got this added.
Right, under, as a change to the published agenda, right?
Okay. Okay. So the regular council meeting of this evening, we okayed it. We didn't. I thought we just okayed having that notice of motion added and moved up the 161.5 or.
Okay, and that's part of the adoption of published agenda?
Okay.
Okay.
We'll say it is.
Okay.
Thanks. Okay, now you got the 15th.
Right.
Looking for a mover for the 15th. Councillor Caxero and Councillor Snively. Questions? All in favor? Motion carries.
Item 8 on the agenda, reports from administration. We have Director of Infrastructure and Development, Chris Nepsey, providing a verbal report on 2145 and 2147 Roseboro Road, and that's together with bylaw 1615 for first and second reading this evening, which was moved up in the agenda.
Nepsey? Oh,
Me?
okay. Yes, sir.
Okay, through your worship. The Fournier properties are tied to the works, the Lower Concourt works as well. So on Friday of last week, administration met with the Fourniers to go over the remaining issues as far as deficiencies out there. The three major issues were landscaping, were driveway condition, and were condition of the patio that was modified to access and decommission the septic tank under their patio. We spent some time there. We had a thorough discussion. I think at the end of the day, or no, I know at the end of the day, we've come to a resolution on those items as far as a fix for those between the town and Mr. Colavino. We've come to an agreement with what the Fourniers had noted as far as what would be acceptable for them with respect to the driveway and the patio. So as far as that portion being tied to the assumption of the works, we should be good with respect to that. So I'm not sure how much more detail the council wants. I think really that's at the end of the day. I mean, Fourniers, I think were good when we left as far as what we talked about, and as long as we follow through on what we talked about, then they should be good. So, and I have, we had a lengthy discussion with Loris after as well, with respect to that, and have come to that similar resolution. So between the three of us, which is what the agreement, our agreement, I guess, is with the three of us, we can move forward with those issues.
Thank you, sir. Deputy Mayor Malash, you had your hand up. No, okay. Councillor Snively?
Through your worship, if we come to an agreement with them, I think we should just make a motion and pass it, and let's move forward. You know, if they're happy with what we're going to do, and it's in agreement with council, let's move forward with it. So.
Okay, I have Councillor Bondi and Councillor Caxero.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So through you, back to our Director of Infrastructure, Mr. Nepsey, we discussed on site on Thursday or Friday the concrete and also the driveway. So is it recommended by administration that we go forward with those two projects? I just want to hear it in writing, what you're recommending, because, and I don't know, maybe our CEO, Donna Hunter, can add to this as well, because do we have to bring either of those items to council to discuss tonight?
Through you, Your Worship, we did come to an agreement. All the work's going to be coordinated by the town. There is no need to come to council for any of that at this point. We're just going to go ahead with the works as discussed.
Okay, perfect, thank you. So my other question is, perhaps our CEO, Donna Hunter, can explain why we're doing the first and the second reading tonight.
Through Your Worship, in discussion with Infrastructure and Development and Planning, we felt this would be a good approach. It would allow us 2 weeks to reach an agreement with Mr. Colavino to complete the items that are to be completed as per the development agreement with him. And namely, the biggest item would be the streetlights, and as well as built drawings and a few other things. So if we can come this 2 weeks in between this meeting and the next meeting, will allow us to meet with him, have an agreement in place to make sure those things are going to happen, and then if we have that agreement in place, then we're prepared to go ahead with the third and final.
Oh, thank you. And one further question, which I think you've already answered. So the developer does know that the bylaw will take effect full force June 19th.
I don't recall that we had that specific conversation with him at this point, but that will be our next move. If council's in agreement with that approach, then we will be meeting with Mr. Colavino as soon as possible.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have one further question. So moving forward with this bylaw means that we would get the $20,000 insurance from Celix?
Through you, Your Worship, no, there would be nothing from the Celix on this. We would be assuming the road as is.
Okay, Councillor Caxero.
Through you to administration, either Don Hunter or Chris Nepsey. So the deficiencies at the Fourniers is being paid for by who? There was, Councillor Bondi was alluding to the fact that this work is going to be done. It's going to be coordinated through the town. Who's paying for that work?
Through you, Your Worship, it's a combination of the town and Mr. Colavino. We have funds that we figure can handle that within our operations, and therefore there's no need to go to council with that.
Follow-up question to that. What's the reasoning behind, and I'm not arguing it, I'm asking what the reasoning is behind this, why Mr. Colavino isn't paying for the full restoration of that property?
Through you, Your Worship, there are items that Mr. Colavino was totally against in terms of bringing this to an end, in terms of the works, the driveway being one of them, that we feel that should be part of this in order to bring the Fourniers back to where they were before. And rather than go through a court process with Mr. Colavino or anything like that, we felt that this was a better solution to get it done and get it done quickly for them.
Okay. Further to that, next question is, with regards to the $20,000, what is the reasoning if the Selects were willing to put up the $20,000 as a security against the road portion? What's the reasoning for not accepting that $20,000 surety?
Through you, Your Worship, in my meeting with Mr. Selleck, he had indicated that if there were any damage, they would repair it themselves. I'm certainly sure that there's no problem. I can get that in writing from him so that we are assured that the works would be repaired if necessary. I don't see any reason why there would be any repairs needed, but if there were, he was more than willing to repair those himself.
Okay, comment to that. The reasoning for that $20,000 in my mind is because we're assuming the road ahead of the one-year maintenance agreement. That to me allows me in the future to say to anybody else that tries to come to us and ask for us to open a road earlier, saying that we've done it in the past, we have, but basically the liability has been put on another person by accepting that $20,000 surety. It's only for a 2-month period. I'm of the opinion I think we should still get that surety because of that, because of being able to present that as a case if somebody else were to come forward in trying to get us to open a road earlier. And with respect to above ground or underground lighting for the development, that is not a decision that's been made as of yet, correct?
Through you, Your Worship, yes, it is. The agreement talks to above ground. So all the electrical is above ground. That's something that both Chris and I have clarified in reading through the agreement, that it's very clear it's above ground.
Okay, thank you.
That's it? Mrs. Hunter, yep.
Through you, Your Worship, if council wishes, I don't think there will be any problem in getting a $20,000 deposit from Mr. Selleck. We talked about that when I was meeting with him, so if that's council's wish and desire, I can certainly put that forward.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Vokes?
Why are we holding another company hostage again for $20,000 annually? Like, why? Can somebody explain that to me? I'm talking right now, why a multi-million-dollar facility would be held responsible for $20,000 by this corporation in order to get open because of some fallacy concern about road damage, when the loads are not even hardly in excess of 5,000 pounds that I can move in with my pickup. So why are we holding their feet to the fire or even asking them for $20,000? Is that the reason? Is the reason concerns of road damage? On a Class B road, I assume it's a Class B road, I haven't been given that answer yet, but a Class B road that is rated for 20,000 pounds, their loads are about 5,000 pounds. That answer was given to me by Ken. And then, now we're going to take $20,000 from them and hold them hostage. Can somebody answer those questions, please?
I would be willing to, but you've been given that answer I don't know how many times, and I'm not going to repeat it again. I'll let someone else, because I'm tired of telling you the same thing over and over every time we have a meeting about this. So is there anyone... I have the floor this time.
Okay, if I could, then continue.
No. So, is there anyone that would like to explain to Councillor Vokes, answer his question? Is there anyone who would answer his question for him this evening?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think during the last couple months when we've had discussions, some council members were comfortable moving ahead without the $20,000 insurance. I was one of them. I just want the road open. I think yourself was also one of them. But there was, to get buy-in, I think, from other council members, some council members really wanted to see that security in there. So it's up to council tonight to decide whether we want the security or not. Administration seems like they're satisfied without having the security there. So we can make that, we can go forward without having the security and see if there's enough council support. If there's not enough council support at that time, we can come back and see if that security is needed.
Thank you. So in continuance, I got Councillor Bondi telling me that some other council members, she's answering for other council members just now. So I'd really like to hear from the council members. I want to know why we're taking $20,000 from Selleck to open a road that will hold the weight. What's the reason for that? Why are we making it so difficult for businesses? That's all I want to know. And if you can tell me, Mayor, then please do.
I was one of the people that wanted that 20,000. I don't want to put the taxpayer at risk if there's something wrong. You say there isn't. I don't know that. There is nothing wrong now. Doesn't matter. Maybe down the road there will be. I'm not willing to risk $40,000 or $10,000 of taxpayers' money. I'm one of the ones that wants to see that security out there. Why won't they put it out there if, in your words and their words, there'd be no problem? If there'd be no problem, why are they scared to put $20,000 up for 2 months?
So in question to that, when did you as a mayor independently just have the right to concur and inflict $20,000 onto a company without the support of council?
Sir, I don't have that right. But we have not made that right. I'm not going to make the right. We as a council will do that. And I'm one voice speaking to put the 20,000 up. If there's 2 of us, it gets through. If there's 4 of us, it doesn't get through. So we will decide as a council. It's not me or you or anyone else. We will do it as a body.
When the time's right, I'll put a motion for it then on the 20,000.
Okay. Is there anyone else like to comment? No? Okay. Okay, presently, we need a receipt of Mr. Nepsey's report, okay? And 1615, was it?
Your worship, bylaw 1615 was moved up for 2 readings to this portion of the agenda.
Exactly, so that's what we're going to move right now. Okay, Councilor Caxero?
Through you, the bylaw, does it have the $20,000 in it as an assurity?
Through your worship, no, it doesn't mention that in the bylaw.
And just for clarity, to our CAO, would that be the place where you'd need to have that, or is that a separate motion?
Through your worship, it'd probably be the place that it would end up in terms of the bylaw, but I would like that as a separate motion, if I may.
Okay.
Okay, a question also to the Councilor Caxero was, we could put that in the next 2 weeks. Right, okay, thanks. Councilor Bonnie, or was it you or Councilor Snively? Councilor Snively.
To your worship, and, you know, we're debating $20,000. What's $20,000 going to do anyways for repair? So I'm going to support a motion that we waive the $20,000 and let's move on. Let's get the road open. This has been an ongoing debate here for months and months and months and months. Let's just get the road open and let's get it open for business. Plain and simple. And I know what you're saying, Mayor, but I'm not in agreement with you. Let's get the road open.
Before I accept your motion, Councilor Vokes was holding off until
Sure.
he had a chance
No
to
problem.
make a motion, so I'll give him first opportunity. Councilor Vokes?
Thank you, Chair. I'm going to put a motion for that Selleck is exempt from financial securities for the purpose of road opening.
Hey, do we have a seconder? Councilor Snively?
Recorded vote, please.
Okay. Any questions to that motion? Okay. Mr. Clerk?
Thank you, Your Mayor. On the motion providing for Selleck to be exempt from having to provide security or financing in this instance, Councilor Vokes, how do you vote?
Support.
Support. Councilor Caxero?
Opposed?
Councilor Snively?
Support.
Councilor Bondi?
Support.
Mayor McDermott?
Support.
Deputy Mayor Malash?
Support.
With a vote of 6 in support and 0 opposed, the motion is carried.
No, Bill was opposed.
Oh, I'm sorry. My apologies, Your Worship. 1 opposed, the motion carries.
Okay.
Can I make a motion that we accept bylaw 1615, please? For 2 readings? And his report? And Mr. our Director of Infrastructure and Development's report?
Along with that, can we receive the report at the same time, please? Yep. First 2 readings. Supported by Councilor Caxiero. Any questions? All in favor? Motion carries. Just before we get to the next item, kind of missed my first job at the evening, other than welcoming everyone. We have sitting beside me our acting CAO, Mrs. Donna Hunter, and third one over in a nice blue shirt and tie and suit is Mr. Jeff Morrison, who is our acting Director of Finance and Business Services. So welcome to your new position, sir, for who knows how long, eh? Thank you. And you also, Mrs. Hunter. Thanks. Yes, sir. All right.
Item 8.2 on the agenda this evening is Corporate Services Report 2017-03, year-end transfers to reserves operating budget. This report is for receipt and support, and that the unused budget amounts for incomplete items identified in Schedule A to that report be transferred to reserves.
Okay. Moved by Councilor Caxiero, supported by Deputy Mayor Malash. Any questions? All in favor? Motion carries.
8.3 is Corporate Services, Finance and Business Services, Report 2017-04, Re-Vacancy Rebate Program, for receipt, and that council authorize administration to begin the community engagement process to determine the community's appetite, the local business community's appetite for the potential elimination of the vacancy rebate program in 2018.
Moved by Councilor Caxiero, supported by Deputy Mayor Malash. Any question? With question, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, through you, Your Worship, and I'll direct this to Mr. Morrison. We're bringing this to the community to get some opinions on this, and I'm wondering if that's what they're doing in other municipalities as well.
Yes, through the chair, there is a schedule of requirements that identifies that stakeholder consultations or community engagement is one of the criteria in order to bring the elimination of the vacancy program forward.
Thank you very much.
Anything further? Councilor Bondi.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm really glad that we're starting to get the ball rolling on this, because being a councillor in one of the urban centers, I don't really see that we should be rewarding landowners and landlords of vacant programs. I actually think we should tax them more, because then they would do something in order to open up their businesses and their land. So I hope that we get some public out and that we can move forward with this on the county level and fill up some of these spaces. Thank you.
And this has come before county council already, so it's going to be countywide for sure. All in favor? Motion carries.
8.4, Your Worship, is Chief Administrative Officer Report EDO 2017-03, Off-Road Vehicle Pilot Project. This report is for receipt, and that council concurs with the recommendation to not proceed with a pilot project permitting ORV usage on municipally operated roadways based on the information and facts presented in this report.
Comment from Nelson, please.
Through you, Your Worship. In April, we went to a focus group. We had stakeholders from across the region, including Windsor Regional Hospital, Windsor Essex County Health Unit, the Essex Federation of Agriculture, as well as residents from the town of Essex. We went through several different questions to the focus group pertaining to ORV usage on municipal roadways, and it was, in our opinion, and in the opinion of the focus group, that this project had some flaws. The route had flaws, there were safety issues, road issues. At the end of the day, it's a balance between the safety and liability issues and the economic and tourism benefits. And unfortunately, there is no balance. The safety issues and the liability outweigh the economic benefits. And that was our decision, was to recommend to council not to proceed with the pilot project.
Okay, thank you, sir. I have Councillor Snively and Deputy Mayor Malash.
Through your worship to Nelson, I went to the one in McGregor there, and I didn't see that at all. What you're saying here in the report. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and deny some of the things you're saying, but if we're going to talk about farming industry, the agriculture part of it, and you heard what I said at that meeting, farmers complain about vehicles going across their property, which I don't blame them, and they do, okay? I agree with them 100%. But if this is legalized and helmet insurance and plated, and people driving of the age that should be driving them, I see less crop damage. When you see an OPP coming down the road, you're not going to have that ATV take off and go across the field. So I don't agree with your report, to be honest with you. I had those medical people were there, okay, from the trauma center. I understand 100%. Yes, there's going to be accidents. Yes, there's going to be fatalities. I know that, and we all know that. I think there's more fatalities on off-road vehicles today that are in fields. They hit culverts. Up north, they hit trees. These people are driving on the side of the road. Like I say, Nelson, I don't agree with your report. Not at all. And as far as medical people being there from the trauma center, how about the snowmobiles on the road? How many people get killed or hurt on snowmobiles every winter? And how about motorcycles? There's more and more motorcycles on the road today than there ever was. So, I mean, we got to stop saying no. And we're saying no to a lot of things. And I mean, we could have easily mapped out a safe route for them to go down some of these concession roads. I agree with you that it is a safety issue on some of the roads. Some of the roads are narrow. And I agree with, I don't know, some of the farmers who were there saying they would park their trailers on the side road and unload their machines. I agree 100%, but we should have parking areas for them. And I don't see it being anywhere being more dangerous than a snowmobile going down the road or a motorcycle. But that's my opinion.
Sir, Deputy Mayor Malash.
Thank you, through your worship. And I was not decided in advance. I wanted to hear the report, and I wanted to hear all the facts. And one of my concerns too was the fact, and it was listed in the report, was the fact that we actually have very narrow roads, and our municipal roads are very narrow. So when the ATVs are driving down the road, a lot of times they may be able to be partially on the shoulder of the road, but a lot of the ATV is going to end up being on our road as well. And by that sheer fact, it's going to make the town responsible. My big concern is the insurance portion of this, where if there's an accident and we don't have wide enough shoulders and they were riding on the road and they got hit, that it's going to come back to the town, and we're going to be responsible for some of these claims. That's my big concern, and I'm going to go along with the report. Obviously, there's more to look at it than just allowing, like I would have loved to be able to say to anybody with an ATV that, yeah, go ahead, ride down the shoulders of the road. But it's just the fact that our shoulders are not capable of correctly handling traffic. They're not wide enough. Thank you.
You, Councillor Vokes, and then Councillor Caxero.
Thank you, Worship. First of all, if we approve ATV use on the roads, they won't be right on the shoulder. So we better all get a little bit more knowledgeable on what we're approving, disproving. Nelson, I understand you had a report to put out. I appreciate your report. I won't accept the report, but I recognize it's as you deem it, and I respect that. But the reality is that if the vehicle is in compliance with the Ministry of Labor, which it would have to be, if the vehicle would have to go through a safety inspection, as required with administrative labor and go onto the road, which it would be. If the vehicle has to be insured in order to be on the road, which it would be, the person driving the vehicle would have to be licensed just like any other vehicle out there, which it would be. But all those things considered and influenced by other people, I'm sure Nelson has decided not to support it. So I'll support your report, Nelson. I don't support the logic that arrived as to where we are. But I don't know why, again, and it's not your fault, I don't know why, again, why council just didn't put the program in place that we asked for a trial basis, do our measurements, and then decide. We just, again, brought the hammer down and said no. And then Nelson brings his report back based on the sense of what council would like to see out of it. And here we are again, another municipality again, saying no to a great opportunity to enhance our municipality. Status quo. Thank you.
Councilor Caxero.
Through your worship, with regards to that focus group, originally when this was brought forward, the idea of using it for hunting purposes was mentioned as, and I know maybe it was kind of taken in a different direction. Yourself and the past CAO had kind of mentioned with regards to economic development and possibly ice fishing and all that kind of stuff, but that there really wasn't anything there for that opportunity based on the road system and the fact that these are not allowed on county roads. Was there any research done with respect to, maybe where hunting is going on in the rural area and whether or not there was a route that would accommodate maybe the use of the off-road vehicles for that purpose?
Nelson, please.
Through your worship, there wasn't specific research done to the hunting practice side of it. All I can say is that if people are hunting, they're probably going to be hunting on private property that they have permission to hunt on, hopefully. And that's it. It's not like they're going to be going to public areas. It's on private land. So they would have, there's no measure on where that private land is, right? You can't make a route around that private land.
So further to that, I fully understand that, but I mean, I guess what I would target as prime locations is anywhere where there was bush area, which is generally speaking in Colchester North and Colchester South. And then further to that, I would kind of maybe find out where are those people coming from. Are they locals? Are they coming from other municipalities? In looking at the map that you guys set up, and I don't know who was involved in setting up the potential area. A couple of things that I guess I'll comment with regards to what was identified as potential. I kind of don't see anything south of the 4th concession being relevant. I mean, to me, I maybe it was that whole thing of potentially trying to get as close to the lake as possible, but I don't see much relevance there. I was curious as to why maybe the portion of the Ferris between the 4th and 5th wasn't included along with the 5th between McCormick and Ferris, so like to make another loop there. Also to that, the 6th, and then Johnson Side Road and the 5th, that would make another square. And I see there was the attempt to try to stay as much to gravel roads as possible. And I looked up some stuff online today. I mean, even from Honda, they go as far as to advise their riders approaching paved roads to get off and walk your ATV across the road. They're not meant, these vehicles are not meant to be run on hard surface. They're not set up for that. That's why they're an off-road vehicle. They're meant to ride through rough terrain. I mean, I understand that concept. I'm of the opinion that I think it should be tried. in a pilot project. I can appreciate your comments. I understand that, there are implications with regards to insurance and liability, and the fact that we have, narrow shoulders causes them to have to ride on the road in a lot of parts. My concern would be then, if they shouldn't be riding on hard surface, we don't have a whole lot of gravel, I guess, to offer. The thing that I might point out, and maybe this is something that needs to happen in conjunction with other municipalities around us, kind of identified 3 spots in the county where there's an intersection of more than 2 municipalities. So where us, Kingsville, and Lakeshore intersect, where Kingsville, Leamington, and Lakeshore intersect, and then where us, Amherstburg, LaSalle, and Tecumseh kind of intersect. Those 3 spots in the county might be a prime location for some sort of a park, an ATV park or an off-road park. I think the majority of the people that have them in the area, it'd be more for recreation use, to go for a ride, whatnot, based on what I've heard. The issue is where do you develop it and who pays for it and all that kind of stuff. I don't know if there could be some sort of discussion amongst the 7 county members and see if there's an appetite maybe to be some sort of a shared cost in developing something like this, because I know other municipalities have had the same. Kingsville's having some public meetings actually tomorrow with regards to the same issue. Lakeshore's had a pilot project in place. Fortunately for them, they have access to Lake St. Clair, so they're using it more as an ice fishing use. So, but I guess I'm more disappointed in the fact that it doesn't seem like there's something we can do, because there was definitely interest when we had our public meetings, and it's too bad that we couldn't provide some sort of a pilot project for those people that were interested.
Thank you. Councillor Snively and then Councillor Vogt. Okay, Councillor Vogt? Okay. Nelson, you have a comment?
Through your worship, 2 things. One, you had mentioned an ORV park. There is currently one in Amherstburg, run by the Essex County ATV Club. The town of Amherstburg passed a bylaw with the Essex County ATV Club. It's in the report. They have to be a member of the Essex County ATV Club because the insurance from the provincial organization covers members that are actively riding in that park. But other than within the park, ATVs or ORV usage is not allowed on any municipal roadways in the town of Amherstburg. Second, I think was to Councillor Vogts' point about riding on the road. According to the Ontario Ministry Motor Vehicle Act, they have to actually ride on the shoulder. They can't ride on the road. They have to ride on the shoulder.
Thank you, sir. Mrs. Hunter?
Through you, Your Worship, I apologize, I haven't been part of the focus group, so I don't know all the details, but in talking with Nelson about his report and the recommendations, I think there's a lot of issues here that I think council needs their attention to, and it's the liability, it's the danger for our citizens, it's the mix of cars and ORVs or ATVs. There's a whole lot of reasons that support not having this in our town. So I just want to make that I apologize, I'm not 100% up on this because I wasn't part of those meetings, but having read his report and the discussion items that he's presented, it would appear to me that his recommendation is sound.
Okay, Councillor Vogts? No. Okay. You're making a motion? Because I have a couple comments just before. Okay, make a motion. Like, this isn't just a small report, as we've discussed in the last 10 minutes. There's a lot more to this, just like Mrs. Hunter just stated, that we aren't even looking at, I don't think. We're not paying much attention to the information that's in this report. They show you one graph. Who's got the most accidents in the county with ORVs or ATVs? Town of Essex. Why? Why do we have that many? Like I hear from one council member, you know, like these guys do this, they do that, and the police are chasing them. Are we going to have 2, 3, 4 times more vehicles doing the same thing they're doing today if we allow them to go on the roads or whatever? If they're not supposed to be out there and we're chasing them around the county, are we going to allow them to do more of it? Or put your foot down, maybe they'll quit having to be chased through farmers' fields and everything if they realize they cannot do it. I guess they think they can, or maybe they wouldn't be doing it today. But that one graph showed me Town of Essex, number 1, with regards to accidents. And it sounds like we might want to open it up. I know I went to a couple of those meetings too, and I heard from the hunters, you know, the guys that would like to get out there and do their thing. The Councilor Caxero says, and I know in the report it says Amherstburg has a park, which you must be a member of their club. Now, if these ATV guys, you know, want to be part of a club and go out there and do their riding around, go ahead. Join the Amherstburg one if you're not too far away. Or maybe like Councilor Caxero said, we could discuss this with another municipality and get a park. So anyways, that's my 2 cents, and Councilor Vokes. Oh, Councilor Snively.
Through your worship, to Nelson, I didn't realize that they're not allowed on the road, just the shoulder of the roads,
Through your worship, yes, that is correct.
shoulder roads. So, yeah, so I'm looking at your report, I'm going back, I'm going to renege a little bit on that report because you're probably right. We have some very narrow roads. If you look at the 5th, there is no shoulder. There's a big ditch. So, yeah, I didn't realize that. I didn't realize they weren't allowed on the road. But I'll tell the public and I'll tell council here, you're not going to stop them from being on the road. I can tell you that right now. Because I know many, many hunters, and I have an ATV myself, and I'll be up front. I go for a ride down to concessions on it myself. So you're not going to stop it. So, thank you.
Councilor Vokes.
Thank you, Worship. Nelson, who was it advised you can only ride them on the shoulders?
Through your worship, I wasn't advised. It's actually written in the Ontario Ministry.
I'm sorry, who did?
Motor Vehicle Act
Yeah?
through the Ontario Ministry.
And who is it told you, or you looked it up?
I looked it up.
I think you may want to look it up again, buddy,
Okay, will do.
because I think you're wrong. As a matter of fact, I know you're wrong. As long as the vehicle's licensed, permitted, you can't, as a matter of fact, riding on the shoulder would create a safety problem. And it's right here, the use is under the Ontario Act for it. And I just wanted to reassure, because Councillor Malash said you couldn't, and I just want to reassure that you can. So we'll go back, we'll take a look at it. I may be wrong too, but I'm under the strong beliefs. But with that said, I'm going to put a motion for it, shoulder use or no shoulder use. I'm going to put a motion for it that we put a pilot program in place from July 1st, 2017 to December 31st, 2017. I'm looking for a seconder and a recorded vote.
Do we have a seconder?
Can you restate his motion, please?
Oh.
Through the chair, Councilor Vokes, can you restate your motion, please, for me?
The town of Essex put in an ATV pilot program running from July 1st to December 31st.
2017.
And I'm looking for a seconder and a recorded vote.
We have a seconder. Councilor Caxero with a question.
Through you to Councillor Vokes, keeping the mapping that they had provided in the report? Okay.
Any further questions? Oh. Mr. Roger?
Through your worship, and just on the point that Councillor Vokes had made a couple of minutes ago, part of what we obtained throughout this process in trying to determine liability and trying to determine some of the risk involved in accepting off-road vehicles is we did reach out to our insurance provider at AON, and their specialists in this area did provide some comments. And so just further on that one point, the one comment that they did provide amongst others, they outlined a whole host of some of the risk involved and what would be some of the risk management steps that could be taken. But I thought this was relevant just to read the one comment that the person from AON commented on. And under potential risk, he provided a written statement to us. And the one comment that he makes is, and I'm just going to quote here quickly, ORVs are designed to be driven only on off-road terrain, and they should not be driven on paved or road surfaces on road use. He goes on further to state, ORV manufacturers clearly state their vehicles are not designed for on-road use and include a statement on their manufacturer's certificate of origin that the ORVs are built for off-road use only. And then he goes on further to say, thus, if the municipality permits use of the ORVs on their roads, they will have to assume this increased liability for any injuries or accidents arising from the use of them. So it tends to go to our EDO officer's point that they're not designed and they're not intended to be used on the road.
Thank you. Councillor Vokes?
Non-argumentally, but I could go on the road right after here, we'll look out the window at the bypass, and they're called Enduros. And Enduros are bikes that can be used, motorcycles that can be used on-road or off-road, and the same advisements come with them, just for the record. And I'll watch 3 go by right after this meeting, so. Milk gives you cancer.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. We have one spoken to it. Councillor Snively and then Councillor Bondi.
I just want to be sure on this to Rob, through you, Mayor McDermott. If there's an accident, we can be sued. We're liable. That's what you're saying?
Through your chair, absolutely. One of the issues that came up in talking with the insurance providers is that compulsory third-party liability coverage in Ontario is only at $200,000. So there's a very real chance in the event that there's an accident and the damages being claimed are more than $200,000, there's certainly the chance that the municipality will be on the hook for the full amount of the damages under the 1% joint and several liability rule. So that was a real concern for us.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, now to Councillor Vokes. We have a motion on the table, and I'm not going to allow you to speak every time someone else does, so save it, jot it down, please, and you will be the last one to speak on the issue. I have Councillor Bondi and Councillor Castro. I think you already spoke to this.
I just asked for clarification.
Okay. Right. Councillor Bondi.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. At this point, I will not be supporting the motion. I feel like we've done a very diligent investigation on this issue. It's surfaced, since I've been on council 7 years, it's surfaced 3 or 4 times. This time we took it a step further. We had the open houses, we had the stakeholder meeting, the focus group. The focus group also was supporters of this project too. So when the focus group sits down, they're really an expert on this. They're the people that want to make it happen. When the focus group sits down and sees that it's not logical and that the risk is there's more risk than there is benefit, then that's really, that's what I'm taking to heed. I don't want to make a brash decision based on the fact that we want to have tourism. I really don't see how we can promote ORV use in our tourism designated area because it just doesn't fit, especially with what the county is doing. If the county were to revisit this, then maybe we could look at something in the village. But with the county road 50, we're not allowed to use, then it really takes tourism right out. So then what are we going after? Why are we doing this? And right now, with hearing the statements about liability, I'm not comfortable supporting the motion, and those are my reasons why. I'm sorry, Nelson, I can't pronounce your last name, but I'm sorry for you being in the hot seat tonight when, frankly, I feel like a lot of council members didn't even read their report.
Thank you. Councillor Castro.
Through you to Robert Auger. Rob, would we not be liable for any accident that happens on our roads, potentially?
Through your worship, Absolutely. Certainly, there, very good likelihood will be named. It's just, yeah, the concern with the insurance coverage is that there's a real chance, yeah, we'll be on the hook for potentially greater liability, regardless of who the other defendants are.
So for clarification, that $200,000 is the maximum that would be covered through the insurance for liability? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, through your worship, from what we're being advised from the insurance company, it's very likely that most ORVs out there on the road today would only have this third-party liability coverage up to $200,000. They would have that. That would more than likely be the maximum amount that they have.
So that's their insurance.
Yeah.
Our insurance, though, like if we were potentially sued for something, our insurance would cover. The town wouldn't be on the hook for out of the town's pocket. Our insurance would cover whatever lawsuit came against us, no different than any other lawsuit that comes against us.
Through your worship, all I can say on that is presumably. I don't know, depending on the circumstances, what the insurance company's position would be in that particular lawsuit. Sometimes insurance companies, for one reason or another, take an off-coverage position. So all I can answer on that is presumably that would be the case.
Okay, and further to that, our insurance company didn't say that they were going to deny coverage with regards to this topic, or did they have a position on that?
Through your worship, they didn't say they were going to deny. They just said that there was a lot of inherent risk, and actually, the last comment. Our insurance provider, the gentleman's name is Robin Dadar. He's Vice President and Senior Consultant over at AON. And he summed it up by saying the following: there are far more negatives than positives. There will have to be significant road maintenance improvement by Essex, as well as local enforcement, signage, and acceptance by the public. Also, there will be a dramatic increase in liability for Essex, since they will be permitting the use of ORVs on their road, vehicles which are not designed for the roads and are clearly indicated as such by their manufacturers. So, and then he ends it by saying, this does not sound like a good idea. So they're not denying coverage, but they're certainly drawing attention and reinforcing our position that there's a significant additional risk of liability.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anything further to the motion? Councilor votes.
Yeah, I hear all this, what I call a little bit of rhetoric, because like with everything, we as a town, that gentleman spewing fallacies out there in terms of insurance, all we do is we set the criteria. I don't care what he says about insurance and what our risks are. I'll determine the risk. As a councillor, I'll determine it, and we'll put the requirements in place as to what it takes to get an ATV use in our municipality. We'll set the standards in terms of you got to carry $5 million insurance. You got to do it within these hours. You set the criteria. And I don't care what he says. And in terms of Sherry Bondi, he's suggesting people aren't reading their report. Sherry, you're right. There's a lot of people here tonight obviously didn't read the report. I remember when Percy
Okay, can we get back to the motion, please?
Yeah, I am on the motion.
No, you're not. No, you're not. No, you're not.
I am. What am I on then?
You're on everything but the motion.
I beg to differ.
You're questioning of this
just repeating
gentleman's,
what she said.
You're questioning
Yep.
the insurance
Yes, I am.
person's
And
knowledge. You're telling him
Yes.
he's nuts.
I didn't say
I don't
he's
know who
nuts.
you
Sir,
are.
can
Well,
I-
that's not the word
can-
you said.
can-
I'm
can-
sorry. I used the
Can I have
wrong
that
word.
stricken from the record, please?
Excuse
Clerk? I
me,
didn't say-
can I have the floor,
I didn't
please?
say he was nuts.
Can I?
And
I know you didn't. Can
No,
I have the
didn't.
floor?
I didn't say
Go
he was
ahead.
nuts.
Go ahead.
So, and then I wonder why the integrity commissioner shows up on me, right? So with all that being said, and for the record, I didn't say he was nuts, right? So let's not be spewing fallacies out there. But the reality is that I remember Percy Dufour raising about the 1% responsibility for municipalities when he was on council. So this is just an extension of that. If we have a stop sign faded out there right now, and there's an accident at that given intersection, we're responsible. We're responsible. And like this, we'd be responsible. I'm sure, I get we'd have some responsibilities. But let's just go live in a glass dome. Anyways, I'll put the motion forward when I can.
Now, I can't talk, because it's not going to be to the motion. But boy, I'm paying attention to what the lawyer says.
Yes, please.
Through your worship, Councillor Vokes asked for a recorded vote on this. To the motion that the town of Essex put into place a pilot project running from July 1st to December 31st, 2017, as moved by Councillor Vokes, seconded by Councillor Caxero. Councillor Vokes, how do you vote?
Support.
Councillor Caxero?
Support.
Councillor Snively?
Opposed.
Councillor Bondi?
Opposed.
Deputy Mayor, Mayor McDermott?
Opposed?
And Deputy Mayor Milosh?
Opposed.
So that's Councillor Vokes support, Councillor Caxero support, Councillor Snively opposed, Councillor Bondi opposed, Mayor McDermott opposed, and Deputy Mayor Milosh opposed. With a vote of 2 in support and 4 not in favor, the motion is defeated.
Councillor Snively?
Through your worship, if I
We still
can,
haven't done-
just to
moved
the
on
public,
receiving or
the reason I opposed it, I can't hold the
Point of order,
taxpayers.
point of order.
Your point of order being?
Yes, my point of order is, does every counselor is going to give the opportunity why they did or didn't support it?
I don't know, I'd probably give them, each and every one of you, the
Sure, I
reason.
would love to.
Sure. Well, we've heard yours about 3 times,
No,
but
no,
I'll
no,
let you
this
go
is
again.
after the motion, so
Yeah.
I'll do it again.
Yeah, I know.
Mr. Mayor, point of order, can we just move on?
Yeah.
We can
Could
move
we
on.
please?
Our opinion.
Yep.
Yeah, thanks.
We can move on. Now, we have to receive the report. Deputy Mayor Milosh? We haven't received the report yet. And the recommendation. I'll second it. Any questions to the motion? Receiving the report? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
8.5 on the agenda is Chief Administrative Officer Report EDO 2017-04, Economic Development Weekly Survey Results. This report is for receipt for information purposes.
Councilor Bondi, motion to receive. Councilor Caxero, support with a question. Councilor Caxero?
Through you to Nelson Silvieta. Question number 2. 2 people responded more negative. Was there a follow-up question as to why? Like, or were these just, go in, ask these questions? It'd be interesting to see why, and also question 4, for those that, there was 2 that said they would be closed within 18 months. Again, like, why? I'd like to know, is there something that we can do differently or better that would help those 2 kind of negative responses?
Nelson?
Through your worship, actually on question 2, where it says yes, more negative, their comments are actually down below there. So the one comment was there's an influx of secondhand stores, so that's why they said it's getting more negative. And then the other one was lack of retail drives consumers to larger centers. Your other comment about the 2 businesses closing, one's not actually closing, they're relocating in the downtown. They're closing their current location and expanding, actually. And the second one is retiring, so that's why they're closing.
Sorry, through you, that's a better explanation, because the way I saw the information, and certainly I saw the comments below on question number 2, and I obviously assumed that those 2 kind of more negative comments were with regards to that. The closing in 18 months, that one, I didn't know whether it was they were just closing up shop or retiring and expanding. So that's a better explanation. So really, nobody's really closing. There's some other reasoning for it. So, okay, very good.
Thank you, sir. Councilor Bondi? Oh, good, thank you. Anything else? All in favor? Motion, one more. Motion carries.
8.6, Your Worship, is Planning Report 2017-23, re Valvoline Express, 269 Talbot Street North, release of security. Looking for receipt of the report, council's concurrence with the recommendations contained in that report, and that the securities deposited be returned to the developer by the town.
Moved by Councillor Caxero, supported by Councillor Bondi. Questions? Councillor Caxero.
Through you to, I guess, be Mr. Nepsey, or actually Mr. Watson, I guess, since he's here. So we haven't had any complaints to date with regards to garbage. What happens if we have them in the future, if we haven't forced them to have the garbage container?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the reason why this has been taken out is because all their garbage is kept internal to the building itself. They have no outdoor storage of garbage. If they chose to change that and have outdoor storage in the future, the zoning bylaw requires that they provide stored garbage areas.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything further? All in favor? Motion carries.
8.7 is Planning Report 2017-24, re Colchester Community Improvement Plan. That said report be received and its recommendations approved, and that bylaw 1612, being a bylaw to adopt a community improvement plan for part of Colchester Center, be read a first and second time and be provisionally adopted this evening.
Support.
Moved by Councillor Snively, supported by Councillor Caxero. With a question, Councillor Snively.
Through your worship to Jeff, have we had any inquiries on any of the money for the Colchester area?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, no, I did speak to each of the 5 main businesses there and inform them of how it works, but, you know, it's one of those things where they have to think about it for a while because it's a 50-50 kind of partnership, so they have to think about the kind of money they can come up with as well. So I don't expect much of an input this year. We'll hardly pick up again next year.
Okay, thank you. And further to that, your worship, to Donna, have we got any money left in the CIP?
Through you, Your Worship, right now, the Essex Center CIP is actually estimated in a deficit position of about $40,000, but that's based on the highest possible price for all of the items that are included in there. The Harrow one, I believe it was about $112,000, $115,000 that we have in that fund, which is what will be funding the Colchester CIP. I think it's the intent that Rita Jabour will be bringing a report forward to council on the status of the CIP monies in the next meeting.
Okay, further to that, Donna, you say the Essex fund is $40-some thousand?
Through you, Your Worship, yes, it is based on the highest possible price that is provided by the proponents. So if the costs come in lower, then we should be okay. We have sufficient funding in our contingency to reserve to handle that so that we are not in a deficit position.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Councillor Vokes, and then Councillor Caxero, and Councillor Bundy.
What tools are we using to advise the current businesses of the CIP opportunity?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, and Nelson's been involved in this as well. It has been a question of communicating to the various BIAs, like to the Essex Center BIA, for example. They've passed the information to their members. The Harrow Chamber of Commerce, the same thing. We've been working with them over the last few years to make sure the information is disseminated. Nelson has made other efforts as well to get notice out, and the response has been very good. Essex Center, I mean, even since we met a few weeks ago to talk about the Colchester CIP, we've had a sudden burst of interest in Essex Center, and a lot of it's just word of mouth. People see what's going on, and they want to know, you know, how did that happen? Was there money from the town, and so on. So that basically we'll sit down with them on an individual basis as well. So the word gets out in many different ways.
So how many registered businesses do we have in Colchester? Give or take, 1 or 2.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I spoke to the 5 main businesses in Colchester, and I gave them a basic outline of mainly it was to get them to come to the public meeting that we had back in May.
So we got 5 businesses.
There are 5 businesses.
So
that-
could we be cordial enough and kind enough to send those 5 businesses a letter from the town of Essex that says now Colchester is now involved in the CIP program, and what opportunities are there for them? If one of the 5 is not fully made aware, even though you've done your diligence, Jeff, in doing that, I think a final offer would be to verify with them of the opportunity there now. It's only 5, it's not 500.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, we will do that. Once the bylaw has had its public review process and the appeal period is over, then we would follow up with notification to the businesses.
Thank you. Councillor Caxaro and Councillor Bondi.
Through your worship, I guess to Mr. Morrison, potentially for next year during budget, if maybe we can get a rundown on where CIP has been used in the last 3 or 4 years, so that we have an idea as to if we're going to keep it separate. I know there's been some discussion of potentially just putting a pool of money together for all the CIP in the three areas, but it'd also, I guess, give us an indication as to how much is being spent total, even if it is by area, and that would be good information to decide, whether we want to increase that amount or leave it the same going forward.
Thank you. Councillor Bondi.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I'm just a little bit confused because I thought we had one pot for CIP funds. And if we don't have one pot yet for CIP funds, I don't want to have one pot for CIP funds because I know we have some money left in the Harrow CIP, and I really don't mind sharing it with Colchester, but I will get in a lot of trouble if Essex Center businesses use up all the CIP funds, and then I have a couple Harrow businesses come and it's all gone. So, and it's not like it's a never-ending pot. We know that it can't be a never-ending pot. So if we haven't separated it, I don't want to separate it because it will be, you will have me after you, just like I was after you with the Selleck Road, and you will not want that. So, word of caution, I know maybe it'll come in Rita's report because it looks like it's still not all together. I really don't want it all together. And if you want it all together, you need to go to the chamber meetings from now on.
Maybe one of us should. Maybe we can talk them into spending some of that money they got over there. I don't know. Anything else? Oh, Mr. Watson.
Through Mr. Mayor, just in response, no, we haven't merged the dollars together yet. That would be a recommendation that would have been made for the 2018 budget review.
That'll never happen. Thank you. All in favor of the motion? Motion carries.
Item 9, Your Worship, is reports from youth member Ava Hoffman.
Young lady, welcome.
Hi. I'd just like to give a quick report on the steak and lobster dinner that council generously donated to. So it was really close sellout. We served over 215 people, and the Squires helped in every aspect of the dinner, from cracking lobsters, which I did, and it was good, to washing the dishes. And the Squires earned around $2,000 in profit. So I'd like to thank Councillor Vokes and Councillor Caxeo for their donations, and Deputy Mayor Richard Malash for attending the event and the other door prizes generously donated.
Thank you very much. Councillor Caxaro.
Do you need a motion to receive the report?
Moved by Councillor Caxaro, Councillor Bondi supports. Any questions? All in favor? Motion carried.
Item 10, Your Worship, any updates from County Council?
Nothing from me, Mr. Mayor.
All right, thanks.
.11.1 on the agenda, Your Worship, is correspondence to be received, that the correspondence listed in agenda item 11.1 be received and where indicated to further share such information with the community.
I think there's 8 there. You want to receive them all? Councillor Caxaro. Supported by Councillor Vokes. Any questions, Councillor Caxaro?
more of a comment than a question. It was interesting in the piece of correspondence 11.1.5 from the town of Amherstburg and from our county EMS. In going through their presentation that they made to the town of Amherstburg, I couldn't help but identify that the county is paying almost 48.5% of the total cost, and 36% of the calls come from the county. 64% of the calls are from the city. I don't understand why, but maybe Deputy Mayor Malosh can enlighten me. It's probably the agreement. I get it. It's very unfortunate that we're getting shafted by the city again.
Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, through your worship. And Mr. Mayor would probably be able to answer this question as well, but it's dictated by the province as to how the split goes, and it's based on per capita. So according to the population. So right now, the population every year of the county is growing a little bit faster than the city. So every year, you're going to see a little bit more portion of that cost allocated to the county as opposed to the city. It's based on population.
Through your worship, sorry, then thank you to the province, not to the city.
Always. Okay. Deputy Mayor Malosh?
I see item 4, Harrow and Colchester South Chamber of Commerce. They were asking about Clark Street Road extension. I'm just wondering if perhaps we should pull this out and maybe send them a letter telling them that it was dealt with at this evening's council, and send the results to them formally.
Good idea.
So I'll make that motion that we do
Miss,
that.
okay.
Or we've got a motion on the floor, but
Yeah. Mrs. Hunter has a comment.
Through you, Your Worship, I think we will do that, but if we can wait until after it gets third and final reading at the next council meeting, that would be preferable.
Thank you.
that's fine, thanks.
Okay. Anything further? All in favor? Motion carries.
Your worship, under correspondence to be considered for receipt or receipt and support, we have item 11.2.1, that the copy of correspondence from Champlain Township advising that Champlain Township is not a willing host for wind turbines, and that they support that they support Sam Oosteroff's MPP private members bill proposing the government halt all wind power approvals in unwilling host communities, be received or received and supported, and if council so chooses, that a letter of support be sent.
Moved by Councilor Caxero, supported by Deputy Mayor Malosh. Councilor Caxero.
Yeah, receive and support and send a letter of support.
Okay. Deputy Mayor Malosh.
Just a comment too. I'd like to have the AMO, copy AMO President Lynn Dolan as well. Dollin, Lynn Dolan. And copy all the municipalities in the County of Essex and our MP Tracy Ramsey. Thank you. If that's okay by the mover.
Right, by the mover. Okay. Any questions? All in favor? Motion carries.
11.2.2 is correspondence from Tracy Ramsey, Member of Parliament, Essex, addressed to the Minister of Municipal Affairs and the Minister of National Revenue, asking that the proposed change to the Excise Act, which seeks to implement an annual increase to the excise duty rate indexed to Consumer Price Index beginning on April 1st, 2018, be reconsidered, as it will be damaging to the wine industry.
By Councilor Vogel, supported by Councilor Caxero. With questions, Deputy Mayor Malosh.
Just to comment on this, this will also be damaging to several of our businesses here in town, in the County of Essex. We have, although it's Windsor, but it's in the County of Essex, and a lot of our residents here, including myself, work for Higham Walkers. This will be damaging to Higham Walkers as well. It's proven that any price increase in liquor drops sales more. Sales drop further than the price that goes up. I'm not an economist, so it's hard for me to explain, but there's an elasticity to it that causes that there's less profit to be made, even by the federal government. They've proven it every time they have an increase, that there's more people that buy less than the increase that they get in the revenues. So and it could hurt jobs, both at Higham Walkers and at Diageo here in the county of Essex. So it's something that I really do feel we need to support.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Vokes?
Just a point of interest, recognizing your financial opportunities from Hiram Walkers, you should actually declare a conflict of interest on this file.
Okay, and we can't advise anyone of that, so for the rest of us, we can't do that, okay?
Councillor Vokes, that, on that motion, receive and support and a letter of support? Okay, Councillor.
Okay. All in favor of the motion? Motion carries.
11.2.3, that the copy of correspondence from the municipality of Killarney to the Minister of Municipal Affairs asking that the proposed changes to the Municipal Act be reconsidered, which changes in respect of or regarding tax registration procedures would end payments out of court for municipalities and which would see out of court payments revert back to the Crown, be received and or received and supported, and if so supported, that a letter of support be sent.
Moved by Councillor Caxero, supported by Councillor Snively. Questions? All in favor? Motion carries.
11.2.4, that the correspondence from the Windsor-Essex County Humane Society advising that they will be performing a Strays on Street Corners fundraiser to be held June 15th through June 17th be received and or received and supported.
Moved by Councillor Vokes. Receive and support. Randy, okay. Supported by Councillor Snively. Any questions, Councillor Caxero?
Through you, just curious as to what the support part of it is. Is there something they're asking for, or? I know, but are they asking for something specific from the town?
No.
Just, okay.
No.
I wasn't sure
You're
if
right.
there was something I missed in there, but, okay.
Councillor Vokes?
Donna, I'd like to contribute $200 for my fund towards this fundraising event. Will that fit the mold?
Through you, Your Worship, I'll have to check the policy as it relates to benefit to Essex residents.
Okay.
I'll get back to you in
Please,
the
thank
morning.
you, Donna. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything further? All in favor? Motion carries.
And 11.2.5, that correspondence from East Ferris Municipality advising that they support the letter from Cheryl Gallant, Member of Parliament, which letter opposes the federal government removing the tax-exempt portion of remuneration paid to local officials, be received and or received and supported, and if so supported, that a letter of support be sent.
Councillor Caxero?
Receive and support and send a letter of support.
Okay. Do we have a seconder? Deputy Mayor Melange? Support?
Yep.
That's
So
a
I've
question.
got
Yep,
a
comment.
question. So I have a friendly amendment to it. I'd like to copy Clark Somerville, our FCM president.
Is that okay with you, Councillor? Okay. Any further questions, comments? All in favor? Motion carries.
Item 12 on the agenda is committee meeting minutes, that the committee meeting minutes in item 12 be adopted as presented together with approval of the recommendations noted therein.
Moved by Councillor Vokes and supported by Councillor Caxero. With question, Councillor Vokes? Yep.
Yes, that's the motion.
Okay? Yep. Is that okay with you, Councillor?
Yep, that's our
Okay.
motion.
Any questions to any of those? All in favor? Motion carries.
Item 13, financial, 13.1, March 2017 bank payments report. Said report be for ratification as submitted.
Moved by Councillor Caxero, supported by Deputy Mayor Melange. Councillor Caxero.
Through you, I was going to move 13.1 and .2 at the same time, if that's possible.
Okay.
Any questions or comments? All in favor? Motion carries.
Item 15, under notices of motion, Councillor Bondi had brought a notice of motion at the May 15th meeting that administration prepare a bylaw to open Loricon Court. That proposed bylaw received 2 readings earlier when it was moved up in the agenda. And through your worship, I think to close the gap procedurally on the notice of motion, I think we should still formally move on that notice of motion.
Okay,
So I make a motion that administration prepare a bylaw to open Loricon Court.
okay. Councillor Snively, comments?
Okay.
Read that report, please. All in favor? Motion carried.
I would like to add a notice.
Yes.
May I do that now, Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, there's no new business. There was no new business, that was it. Okay. Yes,
Okay.
Councillor Bondi.
So for the June 19th meeting or 18th meeting, I'd like to add a notice of motion, and I'm sorry, Councillor Caxaro, I couldn't wait 6 months. Notice of motion that the town of Essex add a transfer dog tag allowance in their animal control bylaw, meaning that if you move from LaSalle into Harrow and you have a dog tag in LaSalle, you can transfer it into Essex, and we can't discuss it, but that's the gist of it. We can discuss it at the next council meeting.
Okay, thank you for that.
Item 16, reports from council members this evening.
I think Councillor Vokes was the first one last week, so we'll swing over to you, your last meeting, Councillor Caxaro. Nothing? Councillor Snively?
Worship, I'll do it, the report. I want the public to know out at Belcraft Beach, the reason that the project hasn't taken off yet or started yet is because of the water level in the lake is very high. So the outlet going in, they can't work on it right now until the water level goes down. So I want the public to be aware of that. I know I got lots and lots of phone calls in the past. I haven't got one recently, but I want the media to let them know in the paper that that's the reason why we're not started the project yet. Thank you.
You're welcome. Councillor Bondi?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There was an email that came through this week, and unfortunately, we're a little too late for it, but I wanted to make an announcement on it, and hopefully next year we'll catch it. May 28th to June 3rd was National Accessibility Week. So next year, hopefully, we can have a proclamation on National Accessibility Week, because it's something I like to highlight, being on the Accessibility Committee. Another report is that Sheps in Harrow is well on its way, under construction, having lots of renovations, so that's very exciting. And there has been some remediation happening on the old Petro site. They look like they're about done, and I've confirmed with staff that the company is going to restore the area back to normal like we had, and I'm seeing nods, so I think that's all.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Malash?
Just that I had been asked by some vendors to come out to the Harrow Market, and I was out there on Sunday, and that it looks like it's going to be pretty successful. You can see that there's going to be some movement there, that it seems like a happening place. There's some music going on and some good vendors and food and so on, so I'm pleased to see that. And I think I'm going to wait for the rest of it for announcements, because there are more announcements than anything. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Vokes?
Your worship, I think it goes without saying, if anybody was tuned in to what's been going on in our municipality, at the car show we had, the Essex Rocks and Roll car/motorcycle show cruising was a phenomenal success. Our restaurants sold out completely. I had owners of the restaurants coming and telling us that the show specials they were offering to announce that they're completely sold out. I had businesses downtown who were bringing staff in because they couldn't keep up to the influx of people. I want to thank Mayor McDermott. I was left with the impression that he showed up there and paid tribute to the event. I certainly can't say that to the rest of the council, but I want to thank you for your your participation in the show. Ron, it was or Mayor McDermott, it was very, very well attended and very, very accepted and thought well needed by the residents of the town of Essex. I don't know if this fits here, but I want to say it here, if I could, and if not, then stop me. I see Councillor Caxaro tonight had mentioned with no ill intent our previous CAO in terms of some of her previous work. We didn't acknowledge her work when she was here. I'm asking that moving forward, that we make no mention of the work and the endeavors of the previous CAO. And my last thing is that I should ask to do it, but I really would like to get it on council at the next meeting to talk about the water runoff problem of the Urca lands, creating problems for the residents of Viscount Estates.
Councillor Vokes, we'll allow you to put that as a notice of motion.
I'm sorry?
We'll allow you to put that as a notice of motion for our next meeting.
Okay.
To
I
be
should have did it then.
discussed.
That's what
Okay,
I'm saying.
yeah.
I apologize.
Okay.
I forgot to do it, so
Yeah.
I'll take advantage of it now.
You just want to restate that for our clerk?
Oh, yeah, just to deal with the water runoff concerns from Urca land into Viscount Estates.
No discuss, notice of motion, if that's what got your hand up for.
Yeah, I was just going
We
to say.
can do that, yep. Yep. Thanks. Okay. Okay, now we're around to announcements. Councillor Caxaro, start with you again.
Through your worship, just want to make note of the fact that on Wednesday at 1 p.m. down at the harbor in Colchester, we will be raising a blue flag. It is a pretty big honor for us. It's the first harbor in Lake Erie that will fly a blue flag. There are only 8 harbors in Canada that fly the blue flag. It's an eco-environmental acknowledgement. It's an international acknowledgement, so it's something that we should be fairly proud of. That was one of the things that I brought back from FCM last year and put it on Doug Sweet's desk, and he certainly processed that accordingly, and here we are. We're going to be raising a blue flag down there, so it's something that I think will be a big recognition for not only our harbor but our municipality. So for anybody that can make it down there at 1 p.m. on Wednesday, hopefully we got a big crowd down there.
Thank you for that. Councillor Snively.
Through your worship, on Saturday in Colchester also is the walleye tournament. And even if you're not a fisherman, come on out, because about 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock they start the draws, and you get into the draw. They have great prizes there. And there's a lot of people there to talk to and mingle with, and it's a great time. So they usually sell 400 to 500 tickets. Easy. It's always sold out. So there's usually people that come in. There's usually 400, 500, 600 people there. So it's a lot of fun. So come on out.
Thank you, sir. Councillor Bundy. I won't skip me this time. Earlier today, I was out at Tom O'Brien's winery. They had a crew of people come in from, big people. There's one from Texas, one from New York, one from Phoenix. I forget what the other was. But rather than me explain a little bit about what's going on in our municipality and in this area, these were big shooters. Through Twapi was involved, Omafra. I'll let Nelson explain it as an economic development officer.
Through your worship, Windsor Essex Economic Development Corporation had set up site visits with the Ontario Ministry of Agricultural and Rural Affairs, as well as site selection consultants from across North America, and as your worship was mentioning, they came from all over the place, Texas, Phoenix, New York. They are hired by big business to look at potential investment sites, and they were going through the region. They stopped at Cooper's Hawk, Moochie Farms in Kingsville, Affrey and Leamington, and they drove by the Harrow Industrial Park as well.
And that's all good for our area. We had a little discussion with them. I told them they better be back here because they're in about the best place in Ontario to be, so. Deputy Mayor Malash.
Thank you, through you, your worship. A couple of events coming up at Coan Park in McGregor. So this Saturday, the Coan Park is actually having a fundraiser to help with different expenses at the park. So they've got a dinner. It's a chicken or pulled pork dinner. It's $25 for the dinner and to see Leo Dufour, comedian, local talent. So if you want to come out, that's 7 o'clock for the dinner, and the show at 9 o'clock. If you want to come out for the dinner, you have to know in advance because they need to know whether you want pulled pork or chicken, and they want to know how many people. If you just want to come out for the Leo Dufour, if you're sitting around Saturday night or Saturday afternoon and say, hey, what are we going to do tonight? You can pop in. There will be tickets sales at the door, $15 to get into the Leo Dufour show. So it's a real deal if you have dinner and the show, because it's $25. It's only an extra $10 to have the meal. So think about it if you're thinking about coming out. And then on Sunday at Coan Park, real busy day, with the 28th Music Fest for raising funds for the Regional Cancer Center. It's the Regional Cancer Center's largest fundraiser that they have throughout the year. Usually raise somewhere between $26,000 and $30,000 for a regional cancer center. And it's only $5 to get in. There's 9 different bands playing starting at noon and going right through till 9 o'clock at night. They have all kinds of raffles, and it's just a generally fun day to come out and sit out, particularly if the weather's pans out the way it's supposed to for this weekend. Bring your lawn chairs if you want. You can sit out on the grass, or you can sit under the pavilion and picnic tables. But great music, there's great food there, there's an open bar, so come on out and help support the Regional Cancer Center at the same time. Thank you.
Sir, Councilor Vogt? Announcements? No? Okay, thank you. Robert?
Your worship, 18.1.1 on the agenda under bylaws, that bylaw 1611, to confirm the proceedings from the May 15, 2017 regular council meeting be read a third time and finally passed this evening.
Moved by Councilor Caxero, supported by Deputy Mayor Malash. Questions? All in favor? Motion carries.
18.2.1, that bylaw 1613 being a bylaw to authorize an agreement between Her Majesty the Queen and Right of Ontario as represented by the Minister of Community Safety and Correctional Services, the Town of Essex, and Essex Police Services Board be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed this evening.
Moved by Councilor Caxero, supported by the Mayor. Any questions? All in favor? Motion carries.
And 18.3.1, that bylaw 1614 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of this June 5th, 2017 regular council meeting be read a first and second time and provisionally adopted.
Moved by Councilor Bondi, supported by Councilor Snively. Any questions? All in favor? Motion carries. Okay, you check the future meetings there, and we need a motion to adjourn. Councilor Caxero, Deputy Mayor Malash, all in favor? Motion carries. Have a great evening, everyone.